Welcome to the Art of Relationshiping. Tonight, I have something extraordinary to share with you, and this is Ramses Rodriguez. Welcome, Ramses. Ramses and I have known each other for years and years and years. I have been enjoying just observing and rolling in and learning from his professional career growth and all of the ways that he has helped people grow their own businesses. And one of the ways that Ramses really makes a difference in the world is that he helps people unblock panic attacks and overcome anxiety so that it's not stopping you from stepping into who you want to become in the world. So Ramses, I think I'm so excited to collaborate
It's
with
so nice to
you.
be here. Oh my God, we're finally doing it.
I know, I know, it's
Right.
good.
We've talked
I'm
about it so long, and now we get to do this whole entire thing on overcoming dating anxiety. I'm so excited.
So we found the perfect intersection. And, once we did that, I'm like, this is a gem because everyone's got anxiety, everyone's nervous. And sometimes that nervousness will actually hold you back from
Hmm.
connecting in a way that we are designed to connect in the world. So, my goal for this evening for you is to help you understand that when you get into a situation that you know that you want to do something and accomplish something and achieve a goal, but then suddenly you're feeling that your palms are sweaty, you're sweating through your shirt, you might suddenly lose your words or just start babbling on. I had a situation on the red carpet where I just froze and I didn't see a way out when that camera went on, and I literally left my body and had a
Yeah.
little conversation with myself. And then I came back. Now, no one else saw what happened. So all of that had to have happened very quickly.
Yeah.
But Ramses is going to help us this evening talk about how to make that happen and what to do with that.
Hmm.
So we're going to start this evening with a little bit about relationshiping, because life is better with good love in it. So this is the goal, is to become the person that you want to be in a relationship, to become the person, the partner that you want to be when you are relationshiping. And if you are nervous about getting out there, if you need a little courage, if you need to identify what is going on and how do you overcome this to really realize the love that you can fill in your life, that's what we're hoping to give you the skills for on this very webinar right here. So stay tuned. We have some extra surprises for you for staying through this thing. And in addition, we'll be able to, once we're offline, answer any specific questions. Are you ready to get started? Here we go.
I am so ready. Yeah.
One of the questions that we need to know when we're talking about relationships is, what would you like to have happen? And if you're feeling alone, lonely, wishing for more connection in life, wishing, what I've heard people say, I don't want to die alone, wanting to share the journey of life together, wanting to share adventures, wanting to know that someone is looking out for you like you're looking out for them, feeling like they've hit the jackpot by having a partner in you, knowing that systemically you feel whole. And that one of my clients is saying, I feel like cotton candy. And I just love that. The other thing she also says is, my resting bitch face is wondering what happened, because the resting bitch face has left the building. So we want you to be able to know that there's guesswork in dating, or you could try dating and finding the right one to come to you through hard work, or you could develop a framework, which I've developed the framework that will help you define your success strategy, which makes finding the right partner who will come to you so much easier that it's actually fun. So that when you're walking on the beach, you might enjoy nature, but you might be ready to share that experience with someone else and then be walking hand in hand in the journey that you would like to take in all of the relationships in your life. So here we go. This is one of my clients. She sent this to me totally unsolicited, and she is now deeply in love. But here's what she was saying.
My name is Terry Roseman, and I've been working with Michelle Hoffmann at relationshipping101.com for the last several weeks, and it has changed my relationship with myself and with the online dating process. Whatever type of relationship you are interested in working on, Michelle Hoffmann is the person to reach out to help guide and coach you through the process. I've went from not wanting to have anything to do with online dating to having fun with online dating. And I invite you to have fun with your relationships as well by reaching out to Michelle Hoffmann at relationshipping101.com.
So just as an example, she is the one who was saying, my boyfriend feels like he hit the jackpot. I feel like a goddess. And I know that I am whole and I'm home and I am safe, loved, and not alone. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to be feeling that thrill of knowing that you are part of something bigger than yourself. And you don't have to give up any of your identity or independence to be in that healthy partnership. So we had talked about a couple of things that we're going to discuss on this webinar. And I wanted to just give us a high-level overview of the relationship cycle. When you're looking to invite someone into your life, looking for the intersection of your entire life relationship arc, where are you at? That will help you determine who you're looking to attract in. Are you looking for someone? Are you very young? Just have fun together? Are you looking to build a family together? Are you looking to, co-mingle and build a business and a life together? All right. Are you at a point in your life when you're looking for a partner and a soulmate to share a journey and experiences with? So knowing that lifetime relationship arc is key to start the process. Within that, all relationships go from chemistry to casual to committed. And I will give you a little bit of detail on this. In the chemistry phase, this is when you're in a discovery phase, when it's the law of attraction bringing you together. And what's amazing about this is some of the things that I was describing that people have been telling me about the in love feeling, but it's this euphoric feeling like you're eating too much chocolate. And it's this sense of, wow, literally your chemistry is changing. The serotonin's going up, your endorphins are spiking, and the oxytocin in your body is just giving you the recognition of this sense of being held and cuddled. Oxytocin is actually called the cuddle drug. In the chemistry phase of the relationshiping, everything seems right. You're looking for ways to connect. Then as you move through more interactions, you move to the casual phase. In the casual phase of a relationship, then what you can do is you look forward to things that you can anticipate, that you know and love. Maybe you're looking forward to that another kiss from this person. This is the kind of situation, this is the reason we love to listen to the same song over and over again. It gives us this euphoric feeling or a specific emotion that we enjoy, so we listen to the song again. You may go to a restaurant because you love the ambiance and the food is good. So it's knowing and this anticipation of something that you enjoy. This is the casual phase of a relationship. There's something else that happens in this casual phase of a relationship. And this is where we start to look for red flags, yellow flags, And if there aren't any deal breakers or reasons to get out of the relationship, then it's the green light, go into a committed relationship. And if we're looking for intimate partners, you may go through this relationship cycle on the first date and then go, you know what, we're going to commit to seeing each other once again. Then at the next round, you're thrown into chemistry of, ooh, we're going to see each other again and learn more about each other. And I anticipate it's going to be fun because this person's a great kisser. And then at some point, you might say, you know what, let's say we're partners. And that throws you back into the chemistry phase again. So this cycle continues to go round and round and round. When you're diving into the dating pool, I think it's really important to identify, are you relationship ready? Or are you looking for somebody to save you? It's important to be able to have the skills to know you're relationship ready and identify someone else who's relationship ready who will not drag you down. And when you are relationship ready, you'll be able to identify others who are relationship ready. You'll identify your person, and it will be exactly as you dreamed it would be. Again, I'm hearing clients' voices in my head going, be careful what you ask for, because you're going to get everything you ask for. And where did this person come from? How is it possible I get to be in partnership with them? Because when it's clear who you're looking for, they will show up. So I will share this slide with you again later. But if you are interested in sharing some one-on-one time with me for being here and listening to my voice and Ramses' voice, I will gift you some of my time, and we will help move the needle and determine what is your relationship challenge and what's your relationship dream come true. And all you need to do is go to theartofrelationshipping.com and speak with Michelle to make that happen. So with that, that's a little bit of an overview of what we're doing here. Now, one of the big obstacles that I hear from clients is that they need more courage, that they're worried that they are going to be rejected. And that type of thing causes stress, anxiety, a panic attack, or it's not going to be as they anticipate it will be when they go out and actually try to connect and date with someone. So with that, Ramses, I wonder if I can pass the baton to you and you can help give us some deep understanding of what's happening when that happens and what can we do about it.
Absolutely. I loved listening to that cycle because as I was listening to you, I can hear all the times I've gone through that cycle already with my relationship, my partner, Mike. And I think it's pretty interesting to listen to it that way because I think in different areas in the relationship, they can be in different phases in a weird way. So I thought that was pretty cool. I love that.
It's very true. And when you're in different phases, it's important to at least identify them so that you can try and get back in alignment on that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. But one of the things that you said that I wanted to obviously elaborate on is one of the things that can mess up that cycle is people's anxiety, or getting you into that cycle could be prevented by anxiety. And I think one of the things that I want to do with you all here is not only talk about anxiety and what it actually is. We have a very good anecdotal, experiential kind of definition for ourselves, but I wanted to show you a little bit more so you have concrete language, you know exactly what it is, when to spot it, and what to do about it, and leave you with a couple of tools that you could use in your dating journey, and obviously what you could do about when it's really severe. Okay, so I want to share my screen too. Is that okay? Could I hit share screen here?
Sure,
I'm gonna walk you through a couple things that are important to understand when it comes to anxiety. So obviously, we're talking about dating anxiety overall, but you, like I said, you have an experiential experience with anxiety, and that affects your relationships, careers, different parts of your health. And when we start to think about anxiety, one thing we always think about is the emotion, right? But what I want to do with you here is talk about how actually that emotion causes a very physical experience, a very physical reaction. I'm going to call it physiological reaction. I'm very nerdy that way. I'm also kind of fun and magical, but when I talk, I sound very geeky. And I want, right? So when you're talking about relationships, certain things can happen, or when you're getting into them, there's like avoidance, isolation, and then you could have actual interpersonal relationship issues. Your career might affect in terms of performance and productivity, your health. Because of anxiety, you could have things as simple as less activity, then it gets annoying with weight gain, and then irritability, and it could affect your libido as well. Okay. And I wanted to share that because with some of my past clients, this was the truth too. So Pam, she had panic attacks, and her anxiety though was so high that she didn't even want to start dating. Okay. And so in her case, it made sense to address the anxiety head on because I can't even get into this. I'm clearly having so much of a physical response to this. The same thing was with Rita. Now, she, on her story, she saved her marriage by addressing the anxiety because the anxiety was just so powerful that her libido had shot. There was a lot of things about intimacy that were affected. So, but it was very obvious when someone has anxiety that that's the thing to address, because as you're going to see, there's very physical symptoms that are going to give you an indication that it's not a situational anxiety moment. It's a little deeper than that, right? Because it's different than getting cut off on the road and getting a little anxious, and we'll get into that in a moment, then you having persistent anxiety moments in your life. A little bit about me. I was very much blushing when you introduced me, Michelle. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I got into this line of work. You mentioned that I had a career with a publishing company, yet I was a vice president. So performance anxiety was something I saw all the time. I was a musician. So performance anxiety is something I saw all the time. And I realized that I was always in situations with anxiety and high anxiety when the stakes were high. Also, I had panic attacks myself. I was one of those people. So when I got into this work was really for me to figure it out for myself, full transparency. And so I started to look high and low. One thing I was really good at was I was a researcher after music school. I went to genetics. I was really good at researching. So when my doctors finally put me on medication, I used those moments of lucidity to actually research, like high and low, what causes anxiety, the ins and outs, the anatomy of anxiety and panic attacks, because I couldn't take no for an answer. I couldn't say I'm always going to be a nervous person or an anxious person or a worried person or someone with low confidence. I'm not going to be that person. There has to be more to this. And so that is how I got into it. I was solving this problem for myself in my 20s. And I wrote here as a first bullet, this should cause you to have some curiosity because we're going to go into that. When I had panic attacks, I had 32 symptoms of anxiety at once. And so I'm going to show you here in a moment what I mean by that. So anxiety is the main driver of a panic attack. I know, this is crazy.
I'm feeling like it. I have all of this.
I know. I actually put this word cloud like this so you can get an impact of how people really experience anxiety. Yeah. It's very busy. It's very annoying. And this is how we experience anxiety. And these words here are in size based on their popularity of symptom. So you can see heart racing, shortness of breath is higher than a hot flash here. This is called a word cloud tool, and I love how it represents that. And the thing I wanted to bring you to is oftentimes the anxiety itself of just an emotion Yeah, we could label it, it's annoying. But if we really pay attention to when we're anxious, especially when you're dating, this is very even more exacerbated when you're dating or preparing to date or in a relationship, because you will have physical things interrupting this process. Okay. And so here is what I had done. I had interviewed about 52 people at the time of this survey of all the different kinds of things they said they had when they experienced anxiety. And there were different kinds of symptoms. And so what I did was like, whoa, what a list. I categorized them into 7 different categories. So there's ones that affect respiratory, metabolic, like metabolism. This is like when you have like stomach churns when you're nervous. That's that's part of metabolic.
Yeah.
Thermoregulatory is like when you get like, when some people are anxious, their hands might get super cold or they might start to sweat, right? Cardiovascular system, heart rating, you might feel heart palpitations. Perceptual symptoms are things like getting lightheaded, dizzy. Oh, you talked about how when you got on the red carpet that you had that out of body experience. There's a sense of derealization that can happen through an anxiety inducing moment. That's a symptom. Psychological symptoms are things or sentences you say in your head, or like overall how you're feeling, like mood swings, nervousness. You might say, I feel like I'm gonna die, or this is craziness. How am I gonna get through this? And then sensory physical symptoms are things like trembling, numbness, muscle rigidity is common. So like if you're on a date, you might clench your jaw and you might look like you have resting bitch face, like you said earlier. Or this also affects intimacy. So if you have muscle rigidity and you're anxious about some part of your body or something like that, you will tighten up and things won't be fun. So
things won't be fun. It's totally true, because all of being in a relationship is you want to feel safe and loved and not alone, and like you can finally relax with this person. But to get there, you have to go through, there looks like there's more than 32 things we need to get through to get there.
Yeah, these are all the different symptoms for sure. And remember earlier I said when I was having panic attacks, I would have about 32. This represents about 57, I think.
Yeah,
so I had over 50% of this list in one single episode. Now, when you're dating, you're not having a panic attack, but you could imagine 1 or 2 or a few of these creeping up on you and still being very disruptive, right?
Yes.
And so think about, what was that?
To your point, the other piece of that is when these symptoms are disruptive, not only to you, but to your partner. If they don't understand what's going on, then it will look like you are disingenuine, or that you are being deceptive, or that something's happening. And so, I mean, listen up, because what Ramses is sharing with us is how to address any of these things so that we can be our authentic self, even the most challenging of moments.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And we're going to do that together here. I'm not going to let you just sit over there. Y'all need to be getting a sheet of paper right now. Okay. If you don't have a sheet of paper, just go ahead. Yeah, there you go. Pull out a journal, take out your notes app, please, or whatever, if you have your phone right next to you. And so we're going to be doing, oops, sorry, I hit a button forward too fast. I'm just going to move you out of the way here, your face. So what I really want you to take away from that big old list, and we're going to come back to it, is anxiety drives physical symptoms. Okay. The emotion alone isn't the only thing. The reason it's so uncomfortable is not because you just have a mental experience of an emotion. You're having a very physiological one as well. And so these physical symptoms, let's say this is a panic attack, or let's put anyone there. Maybe your symptom here is like sweaty palms, or maybe your symptom here is heart racing, or maybe your symptom. The way this happens is you've reached the threshold for that symptom. So for people who have no anxiety on the day-to-day, their anxiety is low, And so they're not really close to this. So if someone cuts you off on the road, your anxiety might spike a little bit. Cool, but it'll return back to neutral. But for someone who's having many different thoughts or drivers, and we'll get into those drivers in a moment, for whoever's having most of those drivers, their baseline is really, really high. So your likelihood of having very physical symptoms on a date or in the bedroom will increase just because you have a lot of factors that are contributing to this anxiety baseline being so elevated. So the key to actually addressing physical symptoms of anxiety is to get your overall baseline down to neutral. That's really that's the key.
How do we do this, Ramses? How do we do this?
I was hoping you would ask.
So, my seat.
Yeah, I know your brain is like, what do we do? So the most important thing is to understand what actually causes that anxiety, right? And so what I've found through a lot of the research and surveying people and with my clients is that there's three basic components of anxiety that affect anxiety, three basic components. So there's a mental aspect, a very physical aspect, and a very environmental. And these are factors driving it. So mental factors driving anxiety obviously are things like your thoughts, or this also includes sentences in your brain, memories, etc. Physical has to do with like your physical health, like your activity or the things you do, physical components of your body that can cause you stress. Believe it or not, your muscle makeup, your composition is going to contribute a lot to the physiology of how your body produces stress hormones versus gets rid of them versus equalizes them, etc. So there's a physical component to it. You can even go as far as saying whatever the genetic component to your body is that contributes to normal levels of your emotional hormones are involved. And then there's, of course, the environmental factors. These are things like, how do I say this? If you get in a situation, you going on a date, perhaps you live with someone who may or may not cause you anxiety. Maybe you're in a work situation that may or may not cause anxiety. Or like you said, a situational or environmental thing is like you said, you got on a red carpet for an interview and you had anxiety. So that's an environmental thing. More so, environmentally, it's going to be something almost imposed, right? So maybe abusive situations are obviously environmental as well. I like to highlight these middle parts too. I talked about activity, but belief systems are another one that affect anxiety, because you could imagine, and I love that this goes along with what you were saying earlier. We were probably offline when we were talking about this, but when you were talking about your
values,
core values, if your core values are influenced by belief systems that you may or may not want, right? How do you actually address those unless you know what they are, right? So a lot of these things about anxiety then become pretty invisible unless you have tools to actually go pick these things out and adjust them so that they work for you. So once again, this very blinding thing. And I want you to look at this, okay? Because I'm going to ask you a couple questions now. I want you to look at this list as well. This might actually help your eyeballs a little bit better, but take a look. And I want you to first, before I go to step 2, I want you to look at that list. And on your sheet of paper and notepad, I want you to actually write any physical symptom you have to anxiety. Now, this is actually based on self-reported data. So this is the way people said this, not how I didn't interject and put these words in their mouth. These are actual things they wrote on my polls. So you might have a different way of saying yours, and that's fine. So what I want you to do is go ahead and write out what physical symptoms are for you when you have anxiety. Okay. And if you're watching the replay, or if you're at home right now, I encourage you to take a screenshot because this is a list I want you to have, add to it. I want you to be able to go ahead and make a really robust list of your physical symptoms. Start there because no matter what you're going to do, whether you're dating or having a crazy board meeting you're preparing for, you will want to know what symptoms you have because then, as you're going to learn a little bit later, you'll know what to do about it. Step 2, and keep adding to it. I'll try to get back to it. I know it's a very long list, but step 2 is you want to score your symptoms. All right. So what I recommend is that put a number from 1 to 10, 10 being really highly intense, next to each of the symptoms you did. All right. So take this list, for example. I just took a little sampling here from my previous page. Again, you could add to it the way you do, but you want to score each one. So here's that same list on the right with a number 1 through 10. So this person experiences shakiness as a 10, trembling as an 8, but increased heart rate is also a 10. And trouble focusing is a 10. Anxiety fatigue is a 10. Anxiety fatigue is an interesting one because a lot of people have these crashes after a lot of anxiety, but they also don't rest well. So it's like you just crash and you're anxious, but you don't really sleep well either. So the tiredness contributes to the anxiety. It becomes a whole other cycle. You talked about the cycle of relationships. I talk about cycles of anxiety. And then finally, what I want you to do is go ahead and rank them. Group all the 10s together, all the 9s together, all the 8s together, and all the 5s, 3s, etc. Because what I want you to focus is on the 10s and the 9s first, okay? And as you're doing that, also be thinking, I know I'm giving you lots of information here. What I want you to be thinking about is what is your highest ranked symptoms keeping you from doing? Okay. So imagine when you experience anxiety and you have shakiness and increased heart rate, there's some things you will do that you normally do that you can't do at that moment, right? And you want to get clear on how the physical symptom is causing a disruption, right? And mostly for this last step, because when you know what it's keeping you from doing, then you can make accommodations. And this is the one thing I want you to leave with for just the dating component is, let's say you have shakiness, increased heart rate, and trouble focusing, and this list here, dry mouth. You may want to make accommodations in your dating experience that have to do with temperature of the room. Maybe if you're in their home or they're in your home, not that I'm saying that this is okay. Like, I'm not that I'm saying it's
not
okay
a first date, please.
Yeah, this, if you have questions about that component, talk to Michelle. But what I'm saying is, like, whatever room you're in, or let's just put it this way. Let's take a dating at a restaurant as an example. It's a better example. Are you going to eat outdoors or indoors? Right? If you know what your symptom is, you will know how to make an accommodation. Now, this won't solve the root cause of your anxiety, but it will make it easier for you to get through dates without it being all about your anxiety for that moment, right? So maybe if you have trouble focusing, maybe lighting is an issue. So you might want to pick places that are well lit. If you have things like, there's some people who are very their skin gets clammy, you might want to make considerations about the fabric of the type of fabric you wear on a date. And if you have certain indigestion issues like upset stomach, you might want to really chime in on the kind of restaurant you do go to. So these are some kind of takeaways just for the immediate moment. These are a band-aid, of course, but knowing that at least gets you through some aspect of your dating. And of course, this translates into the bedroom as well. Like, if you know anxiety causes you to have the stomach turn, the bubble guts, whatever we want to call them, you want to make sure you know that ahead of time, so like that you can actually build in certain practices that help you relax.
So knowing your physical symptoms and that
Mhm.
knowing they cause a disruption, reducing the variables and getting control in an out of control situation by helping to
Mhm.
make selections that will actually manage some of these things so that they're no longer something you have to worry about,
Right.
which means you can relax into actually just getting to know one another.
Yeah.
Such
Yeah.
a gift.
Yeah.
Such a gift.
For I will add this, as you remember the three rings, the physical, mental, and the environmental components of anxiety, those each have their own tools. So part of the reason it's important to understand that the anxiety is made up of these components is so that then you could actually build in tools. And the answer is simple. When I started doing the research, what I was finding is that therapists, psychologists, the books I was reading, everyone would always present a little bit of the picture. And I
Mhm.
think people just needed to address the entire components of the anxiety, not so much just one at a time, so that you could actually have that anxiety baseline finally go down to neutral so that you're not even having to make accommodations anymore. It's just a non issue at that point.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant because everyone gets nervous. Everyone's got anxiety. Everyone has panic attacks. Knowing that you're not alone in this is actually very helpful. And really, the diagram that you were showing us is that some people can self-soothe and comfort very quickly, whether it's from nature, nurture, or
Yeah.
environmental.
Mm-hmm.
Your relationship with yourself is such that your resilience is fast to bring it
Mm-hmm.
down. And
Yeah.
using the tools that you're presenting to us, Ramses, we can actually lower the echelon
Yeah.
so that we know how to quickly recover from these
Yeah.
things. And planning ahead helps prevent them from being an issue in the first place.
Yeah, and certain environments or situations with people might make this harder. For example, someone who's in leadership, like their issue ends up being time. Like I don't have enough time to like figure things like that out. Or the stakes are really high. Like I can't show up to work anxious and mess up a board meeting because that's a budget approval that I just jacked up, right? Or I've been look, the stakes can get really high, really bad. I was vice president. We were in some high stakes situations. And then the other thing, in a more internal, if you identify like an HSP or an empath, you could imagine this gets
What's an
even more
HSP?
a highly
Highly
sensitive
sensitive
person.
person.
Yeah, so HSPs in the literature, I
Okay.
read a lot of that because the science of that explains a lot of these more internal things that are not invisible. So if you even identify as any of those groups, that just becomes a little more difficult because then you have to decide what your perceptive reality has to do with how you're actually interacting with the environment. Plus, your body is still doing a thing. So you still have the symptoms. And so those are different ways that it can become challenging to just take three little aspects and come up with a tool for each. Because sometimes the
Right.
tools have to be very specialized for those scenarios.
So you were telling us these are all obstacles and pitfalls that people can run into because there's a lot at risk. Professionally, there's a lot at risk when
Yeah.
you're having a panic attack or anxiety or you're stressing out. It's just, we say we're stressing out.
We're stressing out. Yep.
And personally, it could prevent you from actually connecting and building the life and living the life that you would like to live.
Yeah.
So, with that, those are some of the obstacles and the pitfalls we could run into. What would be a clear signal that it's time that you haven't really been able to, that this is stopping you from living your life the way that you'd like to live it? What would be a clear signal that it's time to reach out to somebody like you, Ramses, at the Panic Freedom Academy? And what's the contact information that someone can reach you at?
Yeah, I could do that. So the signal when reaching out is when you're making all these accommodations. That's actually the issue. If you find that you're making more than one or two accommodations, like I said, there's something called situational anxiety. Like someone cuts you off, you're going to experience anxiety because you're human. But when you have a list, right, and you're having a lot of 10s and 9s and 8s and 7s with all these accommodations, that just means you're spending a lot of time and energy managing anxiety and like kind of guessing at it. So a good time to reach out is when you're done guessing at it. Because, you know, it becomes kind of disruptive for your relationships, your performance at work. I mean, there are people who end up sitting at their desk having anxiety fog. They're going to check email and then they sit there and like, wait, what was I doing again? It starts becoming disruptive. So I make it super easy because of anxiety fog and a big emotion. You could just go to one place to find me. And the way I'm going to do that is by giving you something in exchange. I'd love to give you my book that details all this stuff. It's called Stop Pressing Your Own Panic Button. The picture is like that. And you go to panicfreedombook.com. And when you go there, not only will you get a copy of my book that talks even in more detail, if you like anything or found any of that helpful, go more detail in that book, but also you will be kicked back information on how to continue having a conversation with me. So that's the easy peasy way of doing it. Panicfreedombook.com.
Something easy. Thank you.
Yeah, something super. I gave you a lot. That word cloud was a lot.
I know. All right. So panicfreedomacademy.com.
Panic Freedom Book. Yep. Panic Freedom Book.
Panicfreedombook.com.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Panicfreedombook.com. You can get a free copy of Ramses' book. I'm sure that you can connect easily there and you can overcome anxiety and panic attacks in such a way that here we have this researching geneticist who understands the stress of being a vice president, a very large organization, and the career and all that goes with that. So he can help customize the tools that you need to overcome that.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to invite, attract, keep, and enjoy the right love in your life, if you've been running into the same kinds of relationship challenges over and over again, and you haven't been able to figure it out on your own through guesswork or hard work, if you're looking for the framework to open up a clear and well-lit path to attract, keep, and enjoy the right love in your life and find love now, come to theartofrelationshiping.com and go ahead and let's have a chat together. So with that, we have plenty of people who have plenty of questions. So I'm going to close the video. For any of you who are listening to the recording of this, you're welcome to come and connect with us individually. If you need both of us, we work in tandem. So thank you for sharing this through the Art of Relationshiping. And from Ramses Rodriguez and Michelle Hoffmann, we look forward to hearing from you.